Hey you guys, we are back with another video, and this one topic for today um, that I want to talk about is the concept of what a sigma is and what the sigma INFJ actually looks like, because I believe that it is something that is innately built into our personality type, and it's something that is just our natural state. And I want to talk about this because in society today, um, more and more people are turning towards this way of life, which is the Sigma way of life. And I kind of want to share my perspective on what it is and how it relates to the INFJ. So let's just dive right into it, starting with what exactly is a Sigma. So in traditional society, um, the way men are portrayed is that they should, um, work on themselves in order to get a certain reward, right? And usually that reward is getting to a relationship. So, for example, if a guy is skinny and he doesn't really have, a good income or anything, society encourages these kind of people to, go to the gym, get their act together, be more confident, speaking to other people, in the hope and working on themselves, in the hopes of being able to find a partner that will appreciate them, and so they can get into a relationship with them. The Sigma concept way of life is basically the same, which is you want to work on yourself and work on your weaknesses, but the end goal is not to get into a relationship. And the reason why this is starting to become more of a mainstream way of living is that people are starting to realize that relationships don't work out, right? You do all this work just to get into a relationship only to find out that your partner isn't actually that great, right? It may be great in the beginning, but let's say you put in all those hours of working in the gym, working your ass off, following a strict diet plan, developing habits, positive mindset, and discipline, right? And now, your life has changed, your body has changed. You can see the results that you've put in, and you can see the rewards, the outcome from working out all the time. And so now you jump to a relationship. Most of the time, what ends up happening is if you make the relationship your priority instead of your own personal growth, what happens is that you might start slacking, right? And so that discipline, that mindset, those good habits that you develop all these years, you start sacrificing them for the relationship. So, for example, your partner may complain that you're not spending enough time with them. So instead of going to the gym, five 5 days a week, now you cut it down to like 4 or 3 or 2. You start spending less time in the gym. You start slacking off on the habits that got you to where you are. And then over time, as you slack off more and more, this leads to the end of the relationship, because you need to realize that the only reason that your partner is with you is because you put in the work to improve yourself. They weren't with you when you were a loser. You had to do something in order to obtain that relationship, which means that is not really your authentic self, right? You had to basically change who you are in order to get into a relationship. And so that is how most people in society think. But then my perspective is, and this stems from Buddhism and spirituality, which is you don't really have to change anything about yourself. Who you are in your natural state is already extremely attractive, is already the best version of yourself. It's just that we have all these layers of conditioning and beliefs that are piled on top of us. And so they change the way that we think about ourselves. And so we think that we need to change in order to be able to get something, right? In order for me to be in a relationship, I have to change the way I am. I need to, be more confident. I can't be shy. I need to go to the gym. I can't, just do whatever I do. I need to, get a higher paying job. I need to change my clothing. I need to change my hairstyle. I need to wear makeup, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? And you see this in society. A lot of people these days are miserable because they are buying into the mindsets of society instead of realizing who they are naturally by themselves. And so what the 𝗏𝗂 lifestyle basically is that you improve on yourself, but not because anyone told you to do so. You improve on the areas in your life because you yourself as a person want it. So there is no partner that says, if you want to date me, you need to improve yourself. It's just you. It's a relationship with yourself, basically. That's what it means to be a 𝗏𝗂. You work on yourself. You're in a relationship with yourself. You are loyal to yourself. And everything you do is tailored towards yourself, right? So you will say, I want to go to the gym. Why? Because I want to become stronger mentally and physically. I'm not doing that for a partner, right? And so what ends up happening is when you start doing things for yourself, the motivation for continuing to improve your life is still there. So for example, if you're doing it for your relationship partner, right, they can break up with you, all of a sudden the motivation you have for doing the things you do vanishes. But if you're in a relationship with yourself, you can't break up with yourself. You can't lose your partner. You can't lose yourself. The only way you can lose yourself is if you change your own identity and it goes against who you are, right? You basically, what's that word? You compromise. Like you have to pretend to be someone that you're not. And as a result, you kind of lose respect for yourself because all of a sudden your identity, who you actually are, your natural state, you had to change that because you felt like it was inferior. And so in a way, you're kind of betraying yourself, right? Because you're basically saying, I don't think you're attractive, right? And you're saying that to yourself. You think that you're not attractive. And so you have to come up with all these changes in order to try to change yourself. But if you're in a relationship with yourself, all of a sudden, you don't have to think that way, right? You're not changing yourself for someone else. You're changing because you yourself see that those changes can help you improve in your life and help you become the best version of yourself. And this relates to INFJs very well, because if you've done introspection, which, and you've really examined your life, starting from the day you were born, you will probably come to the realization that as a kid, you never really cared about the opinions of others. You were always kind of a little bit weird, a little bit eccentric. Everyone would do things a certain way. Everyone would go left, but then you would go right. And you were the only one that goes on that path. You're the only one that is different. You're the only one that does things in that way. And so you're different from everyone else. You're different from the crowd. And so people they might pick on you. They might call you weird, and they may keep your distance from you because they perceive that the way you do things or behave or what your mindset is different from how everyone else does things. And so as an INFJ, if you really resonate with that personality type, for most of your life, you were probably lonely. And even right now in this moment, you may be single for a reason. I know I am. I swore off relationships, and it's been, I don't know what, 8 or 10 years? I think 8 years since my last one. Basically, the truth is, people just aren't that great to date. And so, for me personally, I found more joy and happiness being single than by being in a relationship, because a relationship comes with attachments. It comes with conditions, right? You have to behave a certain way in a relationship in order to keep that person in your life. But if you're in a relationship with yourself and you're focused on yourself, you're focused on making yourself happy, then you never have to compromise. Because all you need to do to make yourself happy is to behave in the natural way that you've always behaved ever since you were a kid. All of a sudden, you don't have to focus on anyone else, right? The biggest flaw when it comes to an INFJ, because we're always focused on other people, what they want, how we can make them happy. But if you're a Sigma INFJ and you resonate with that concept of being a Sigma in your life, all of a sudden you can be this extremely selfish, and you will be extremely happy for it because you're putting yourself first. You're not putting others first. You're not putting the needs and desires of other people before your own, and you're not neglecting yourself. So everything that you do is now for yourself. Everything that you do is focused on helping you as a person grow and to become the best version of yourself. And along the way, as you're doing that, you will encounter people who will find themselves attracted to you, which is in a way a test. In my opinion, it is in a way a test. It is life's way of basically testing you to see whether or not you learned your lesson. So with the example that I gave you before, right? If you're working on yourself and then you get into a relationship, most of the time you're going to compromise on those habits and those good habits that you've built up to get into the relationship. So as you're on the Sigma path, you're working on yourself and you're basically swearing off relationships, whether or not you're a man or a woman, you're just swearing off relationships with other people. What'll happen is that people in your life, people will come into your life that want to be a part of your life. Again, because you have done the work of working on yourself and now your life is amazing, right? You have a good job, you have a house, you have, I don't know, you're attractive, you've done the work on yourself. And then so people will want to gravitate into your life because they want a taste of what you have. But then you've already been there and you've done that, and you know the minute that you no longer have those things, they are no longer interested in hanging out with you. So that's why more and more people now are turning towards the Sigma lifestyle and simply just working on themselves and staying single and ignoring everything else that is around them, ignoring relationships, ignoring the concept of dating, ignoring the outside world, and just focused on themselves because the outside world has disappointed them time and time again. But you will never disappoint yourself if you put in the work and you put in the hours. You don't even have to hustle, right? You just have to be loyal to yourself. That's what it means to be in a relationship with yourself. Don't cheat on yourself, right? Don't compromise on what you believe to be your ideals. Don't compromise on what it means to be yourself. Don't cater to other people if it means putting yourself last, because then basically you're cheating on yourself. And if you can't be loyal to yourself, what makes you think you can be loyal to anyone else? So you have to put yourself first. You have to work on yourself, and that's what the concept of the Sigma is. And the reason why it relates to the INFJ, I don't know if I mentioned this, but basically we are loners ever since we were born. We've always been in our own heads, right? We've done things differently from the crowd. And so it is very natural for the INFJ to be on the Sigma path. I know INTJs are also quite resonate with this concept, which is why INFJs and INTJs tend to get along so well, because they both understand this concept that if you want meaningful connections with other people, you need to first work on yourself and have your own hobbies. You need to learn how to be independent, right? Being in a relationship is basically a codependent partnership where you need someone to bring you happiness. But then if you are already happy by yourself, if you're already fulfilled by yourself, then whether or not you're in a relationship, it doesn't really matter, right? The relationship, you could not be in a relationship and you'd still be fulfilled. And if that's the case, then why would you not just be single, right? Why would you be in a partnership? And people will say, Because it's better to be in the presence of company, which I agree with, but only if that company is on the same path as you are. So it's not uncommon for a sigma and a sigma to get together. Why? Because they both understand the concept of working on themselves and not neglecting their own needs, because then by doing so, they're also neglecting their partner. So again, INFJs and INTJs, they resonate with each other very well. It's because they're both very independent and they're in their own world. So there will be moments where they will, get together and they will share what they've learned or what their life is like, and then there'll be periods of time where they'll then split apart, go their own separate ways, not really talk to each other, and be in their own world, working on their own thing. And they use that time to, gather new experiences, new life lessons, new, just new experiences in life, so that they enrich their life with something that is new, right? Because if it's not new, then it's going to be stale, it's going to be boring. So when you enrich your life with all these new experiences and things you learn, then when you get back together with your friends or your partner or the people that mean a lot to you in your life, then you can share those things with them, and they can also grow with you, right? So the issue with not being in a relationship with another individual, if their like mindset and their beliefs are different from yours, is that you are going to grow, but then they are going to stay where they are. And so over time, it's the dynamic is going to look like this, right? And so the gap between you two is going to grow and grow and grow. And so eventually you're going to grow apart, because you're all the way up here and they're all the way down here, right? They've never done anything to improve on their life. And so you'll feel like they are a dead weight, or they themselves will feel like that. And then that will create an inferiority complex in your partner, which will then result in the end of your relationship, because they will end up sabotaging it. That's why it's very important to surround yourself with people who resonate with you, which is ironic because, as you know, in INFJ, it is very difficult to find people who actually understand us and are able to connect with us and resonate with us, which is why the Sigma lifestyle, aka the loner lifestyle, is perfect for us, because that is how we've been our entire lives. For some people, they have to actually work at living a Sigma lifestyle. But for the INFJ, it is completely natural, right? We've been practicing since the day we were born. Like, what do you mean I have to change my life? Like, I've been doing this my entire life, right? Whereas for other people, they had to change from being a party animal to being encased in their own solitude. And it's very difficult for them because they never learn how to be alone, right? That's kind of what the events in the past years have kind of opened us all up to, right? Because of that thing in 2020, a lot of people had to be isolated, and a lot of people now need to realize how to be happy and fulfilled by being isolated, aka being alone. And so for a lot of people, it's difficult. You read about it on the internet forums and all around you in media, right? But if you're an INFJ like me, for us, we're just like, life is the same. In fact, it's better than ever because I don't have to talk to anyone. It's like heaven, basically. Like, there is no difference for an INFJ in their lifestyle being isolated from the events of that thing in 2020, and so there's no difference for them, like whether or not that thing in 2020 existed or not, because their life never changes, right? So for them, it's like they are ahead of the crowd. They don't need to learn this lesson that the universe is throwing at them, which is learning how to be alone and fulfilled, because to them, they already know how to be alone and fulfilled. They're ahead of the class, they're ahead of the curve, and they're ready to move on to the next lesson in their life, right? Which, if you are into spirituality, I believe the next phase of our life, for those that are ready, will come in 2023 when our friends from outer space decide to drop in and pay us a visit. I will talk more about this in another video because right now everything is kind of up in the air and I have no idea whether or not it will even come true or whether or not it will even resonate with some of you. So we'll just keep that there. But basically to recap on everything we said, which is the Sigma INFJ is basically, the Sigma lifestyle is perfect for the INFJ because it is their natural state in letting the INFJ use their time in ways that are important to them, right? Which is to improve on themselves. You spend your time basically doing the things you love, not the things other people love. And so you make yourself happy. And in that way, you are also much more fulfilled in your life because you're doing the things that you know make you happy instead of the things that other people are telling you that you should do or that you should change about yourself, right? It's a concept I believe that all of us understand, but we don't really put it into practice because we are afraid of the backlash that we're going to get from our friends or our family or society, right? We tried that when we were kids and we got called weird. We were isolated from everyone else. And so that kind of is kind of painful, right? We do want meaningful connections when we can. And so I think that's the biggest reason why INFJs don't fully embrace that side of themselves. It's because they're worried about being alone. But then what they need to learn is that sometimes being alone is better than being with people who make you feel alone. Because you need to understand that the only people who will truly give you the meaningful connection that you're looking for as an INFJ are the people that understand you. And so you need to be very picky and choosy with your friends, which is why naturally, if you're an INFJ, you probably don't have that many friends. And that's normal because you can't relate to that many people. You can only relate to a small minority of people, which are those that understand who you are and those that most likely are also on the path of the Sigma, which is working on yourself and being the best version of yourself. So then you both grow over time as life goes on. And now you have a lifelong companion or a lifelong friend or a lifelong partner, right? That is what we want. We don't want to keep changing things whenever one person gets too far ahead, right? Because then now you have to say goodbye to them. And goodbyes can sometimes be painful, but that's a topic for another video. So yeah, that is my take on what the Sigma INFJ is, why it is perfect for our personality type, and basically when it comes to improving on yourself, only you will know what those areas are. So I don't want to say any specifics to try and give you any like preconceived beliefs, like you must do this or you must do that in order to become a better version of yourself. It's whatever you think you need to change in your life, or whatever you think you should start doing. And it might not be anything, right? You might be perfectly fine exactly where you are in your current state of life, and that's perfectly fine, right? Again, it should come from within, and we need to listen. We need to learn to listen to that inner voice that is within us as an INFJ, because for too long have we listened to the voices of other people instead of our own, and it has done nothing but make us miserable. So yeah, that is it for the end of this video. Hope you got a lot of value out of it. Let me know if you have any questions or topics that you'd like me to discuss. I might talk about more about what I mean by our intergalactic friend our friends from outer space landing. Um, but I think if you're into spirituality and you've been following um, down some certain rabbit holes, you may know what I'm referring to. And so I might make a video on that as to what my predictions are come 2023, what life will be like, and how things are only going to look better from here on out. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Hope you have a wonderful day. Stay indoors, stay warm, snowing here, and I hope that you have a wonderful December to close out the end of the year. See you in my next video, and peace and love to you all. Thank you very much.